Hi, I'm Jocelyn. Welcome to Fast Easy Vegan. So the recipe we're going to do today is so simple as to not really require a recipe. So it's a long story. I'll try and make it short. I found this recipe a million years ago online. I have no idea who wrote it. I did not. I stole it, so I didn't publish it in my new book. But it is in this old book. It's on page 30. It's baked potatoes and onions. So I just didn't feel right about publishing in my big book a recipe that I didn't create. And I published it in the little book because honestly, I wrote it for me. I didn't think anybody was going to buy it. Who knew? Like 8 printings later. So let's get rolling on a recipe, on our gorgeous, simple, fabulous recipe. I have turned on the oven to 450 degrees. And we're going to take 4 or 5 potatoes, cut them into about 1/4-inch slices. And if they roll away, well, they'll stop sooner or later. So you're going to bake this for about an hour. These are pretty thick potato slices. And yeah, you need that whole hour. Trust me on that. But I love this recipe. And now I'm a salt eater. I can't bring myself to give it up. I've tried. It makes me angry. So this is a dish I never use salt in because you don't need it. There is a 1/2 cup of nutritional yeast mixed into a 1.5 cups of plant milk of your choice. And, well, you know how potatoes suck up sodium. This is a really nicely balanced flavor. If you're a salt eater like me, I doubt very much you will reach for that salt shaker. All right, now what we want to do with the onions is keep them whole, and we want onion rings. This is just such a genius recipe. I think you're going to really appreciate it. And while the prep is just so simple, just slicing a little bit, mixing a little bit, throwing it in a pan and tossing it in the oven. Doesn't get better than that. And we want, in fact, I'm going to make some extra little thin rings to drizzle across the top because I really love those kind of charred bits. Onions do that so well. All right, a couple more pieces here and then we can get our fingers dirty. Oh, that last slice. Okay, we got it. All right, so let me move the food out of the way now that you see what it is. And put our baking dish here. So let's start the bottom of the dish with some random rings that will keep the potatoes from sticking to the bottom and burning while it's baking, okay? And then you want to fill up a layer with potato. There. Okay. And now we want to do another layer. It's kind of like a potato and onion lasagna without anything else. Definitely want those layers. Okay. We want more onions. Yeah. What a lovely combination, right? Potatoes and onions. Doesn't get better than that. You know, the potato is magic. When you think about it, it's everywhere in the world. My oven is singing. It's ready. So yeah, potatoes are everywhere. They are South American, native to South America is what I'm trying to say here. And they're just so versatile. And once the vegan world just started playing with potatoes, well, you can see we use potatoes for thickening, for flavoring, for so many things. I saw a recipe for tamales that was gorgeous. No fat at all in the tamales. These are the thin ones. I'm putting these on the very top. So this tamale recipe didn't use any oil, lard, or grease of any kind. It used potato for fluffy lightness, mashed potato. So I'm going to try that soon. What do you think? Okay, now that's it. Start to finish. A cup and a half of, I used almond milk. Whatever plant milk you're using, make sure it's not the kind that has vanilla, or you're going to be really disappointed in your dinner. So you mix a half a cup of nutritional yeast into a cup and a half of whatever milk you like, and it's very thick because that's what nutritional yeast does. It's a great thickener for gravies or sauces or whatever you like. So this seems like an awful lot of liquid. It's not. Potatoes will just absorb it and be softened by it. I'm going to put tin foil over that for a while. And then the last 10 minutes, I'm going to take it out of the oven and let those onions brown. 450 oven. It's the hot one. So I'm cooking in the morning here because it's supposed to be 80 degrees today, and I do not want an 80-degree oven going at 4 o'clock. You know what I'm saying? All right, in we go. And in an hour, you'll see what it looks like. So we just made our baked potatoes and onions. And what else is going to go with our dinner? Because that's a marvelous main dish, but there's not really enough nutrition in there for my liking. Just throwing a salad alongside those potatoes, that's not much of a dinner. So let's use up the onions we didn't finish using in our baked potatoes and onions dish, and rummage around in your refrigerator, see what you can find. So I stacked out my onion rounds, cut them in half, wandered around in the garden, found a couple of squash that I can saute, found some mushrooms in the fridge that need to be cooked up. So this is just going to be a really simple saute, and this is going to make it a real dinner, you know? I like to have a minimum of 3 things at my dinner. I don't know why that is. All good things come in threes? I don't know. But it certainly makes for a nicer meal. There's something more ritualized about a dinner that has several dishes on that plate for you. I'm trying to cut everything pretty much the same size so it all cooks pretty much at the same rate of speed. I like dinners like this that are just fast, easy, and vegan. I mean, what a silly thing for me to say. Of course I like fast, easy dinners. I've made a life out of it. And I think we're going to start, well, no, I know we're going to start cooking with the onions. We're going to put the onions in first, let them soften a little bit. Then we're going to get our mushrooms going because they've got all that water they need to release. And that, of course, will help the onions cook to the point that we want them to, which is soft and translucent. And the squash only takes a minute. I'm just so thrilled with patty pan squash. I know that squash pretty much always all tastes the same, but I used to call them flying saucer squash when I was a kid. They just charmed me, and they still do. And their flavor is very delicate. It's not zucchini, in other words. My husband will still groan and complain, but that's on him, right? Okay, let's get this pan started. Okay, we're just clearing the board now. That doesn't go in there yet. Don't be so impatient, little piece of squash. Okay, let me get some water in my pitcher, because we're probably going to need it. We get a nice spoon here. There's a spot on my stove. I don't like that. Now, I did not preheat this pan, and this is why I like to preheat it. It just saves time. While you're slicing and dicing, have the fire on under your stove. And it also tends to sear vegetables, and if you want to keep in the juices, that's one way to do it. Although you should remove them pretty quickly from the heat. Now you can hear the sizzling starting. And as we know, onions tend to caramelize when they get hot, and when their own juices start leaching out, and all the sugars it starts to caramelize those onions, and it coats the pan on the bottom that we can deglaze, and so much is going on when we cook an onion. And I don't like to put in water too soon. I like the stuff on the bottom. I want this stuff to happen. So, just a very few little drops. Otherwise, if you're putting too much water in, even if it isn't a lot, if it's coating the entire bottom and you can see the bubbles on the bottom, you're boiling your onions. And that's not what we're trying to do here. And that said, there's nothing wrong with boiled onions, but when you want to saute them, you want to get some color on them, a little bit of brown starting. You want that, the pan film to develop on the bottom. And that's all like pure flavor you're going to lift out of that pan that's going to go in your dinner. Okay, so these are already, they're starting to soften. I'm going to put the mushrooms in now. And when they release juices, that will help to deglaze the pan. Get all those nice yummy bits off the bottom. Okay. And I'm going to throw in just a couple of bits of salt there, maybe 1/4 teaspoon, just to help those mushrooms think about getting rid of their water. Okay, you can't. Can you see now that, let me get a pot holder. You see the brown on the bottom there? The pan is blazing nicely. And when those mushrooms get juicy, it'll disappear. Whoops. There I go, throwing things on the floor. Gosh, I'm good at that. Oh, here they go. All of a sudden, first of all, the sound changes. All of a sudden, that sort of hot sound gets soft. And you look in the pan, oh yeah, all those juices are releasing now, and there's not one speck of brown at the bottom of the pan. It's all been picked up by the mushroom water. Life is good. Man, am I a cheap date. Okay. Let's get these little happy guys in there. Flying saucer slices. And that's it. And you want to keep pushing this around the pan for a couple of minutes until it gets, these guys soften and these get cooked. And then these are going to be a match for the potatoes. We'll plate them together and you'll see what I'm talking about. Woo! It's cooking now. So the next step, once these are cooked, the next step will be plating our dinner, and it's going to be really, really beautiful. It'll be a hearty, non-fattening, fill you up, tasty, comfort type of dinner. So I'll see you in a minute when it's time to plate. Hi, it's time to dish up. So let's look at our food here waiting for us. Let me cut this into big sections because knowing and loving this recipe, you're going to want a lot. So I'm just going to be honest from in front and just cut it into 4 big pieces. It's like a big potato pie, only better. Okay, my mouth is watering. Oh yeah. Ooh, yum. And you're gonna love the light creamy sauce of it. Remember, we poured on a 1.5 cups of plant milk with nutritional yeast, and it absorbed. I mean, you can see there's no big puddle of potatoes or anything. I mean, sauce. You know, my brain gets going and my mouth just can't catch up. That's what happens. And it's really funny to me because I have looked at every video I've ever done, you know, after I make it and post it and everything. And I always say something wrong, like I call coriander cardamom or whatever. It's just silly. Okay. Now, isn't that more interesting than just plain potatoes on a plate? Honestly, I don't like the visual here. It all looks like the same thing with a slight difference over here. Much better, I think, would have been, say, some steamed broccoli or celery, steamed celery and mushrooms maybe, or sauteed, or something with enough of a color contrast so that people's mouth starts watering the minute they look at the plate, or they have that delight of, oh, look at this pretty food. And then your digestive juices start flowing before you're even aware of it. All right. What we're going to do too, because it is our habit in this household that hot food goes on the plate and gets eaten. Salad comes next as a separate course, and we eat European style here with salad being last rather than first. What salad does is cleanse your palate. And by the way, this was a very light, creamy dressing of equal parts tofu mayo and ketchup. And using it very sparingly because otherwise it gets really wet and heavy and it's just wrong. So a little bit goes a long way. So that's our dinner for tonight. I hope you love it. Let me know. Bye.